Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to the tournament roundup of events between July 18th and July 24th. Big news out of nowhere this week, new teams, or well, old teams and new teams, and big tournaments await. Let's get to it with organizations and roster changes first for this week. So Fnatic have stepped back into Overwatch. It tickled me when they made their announcement sound like it was the first time they've had an Overwatch team. We haven't forgotten Fnatic. They used to have what is now the reunited roster before moving on and basically biding their time. Instead, Fnatic have acquired the Nubris roster. I'll put their names and roles on the screen for you if you aren't familiar with who they are. A lot of talent on this roster. My only concern with it is it being a split lineup, with Coolmat, Stoop, Buds and Custer being in America, while IDDQD and Vonethil are Swedes. This leaves the team with a ping disadvantage no matter where they play, especially as the DPS players, Buds and IDDQD, are on separate continents. Code 7 have also been picked up by TSM, not a big shock since Code 7 have been doing well, and it feels like organizations are getting more comfortable grabbing up Overwatch teams and lineups. With recent solid results, well, this was kind of inevitable, and I'll use this moment to address the elephant in the room. If you aren't aware, TSM as an organization have been caught in a recent number of hacking scandals. Code 7's team members as well, particularly the two TJO players, Nicholas and Talk, have got a history of hacking in competitive gaming. There's a lot of suspicion towards Code 7, which some of it is honestly rightfully deserved. They leave an organization and suddenly they start outperforming what was expected of them, and it gets a little bit suspect. All I can say on the matter is, well, everyone is watching. Especially as production improves, and we'll talk about that in a moment, things will get picked up on very quickly. The hope is that recent scandals deter any chance of cheating, otherwise, well, without little proof, there's very little to comment on. Let's not go on a witch hunt here and throw people under the bus before we have proof. Roster drama also occurred earlier this week, with rising Canadian organisation Northern Gaming making some changes. First, they've decided to drop Northern Gaming Blue, their European roster. In what was termed a mutual split, Northern Gaming decided that running an all-Swedish team from across the pond was a bit too much work. In their statement, they don't refer to Northern Gaming Blue's middling results. This is a team that, well, can't quite penetrate the top-tier European scene after all. Still, best of luck to the former Northern Gaming Blue lads. I'm sure they will find a home pretty soon. Further drama exploded out when Northern Gaming Red team member Bird was revealed to be breaching contract and working with another forming team called Empyrean. This went public in a big way, with Twitter being the primary battleground. From what I understand, Bird repeatedly went to go into talks with the other team, screwing with them without informing Northern Gaming. This was aired in public and it all got ugly rather fast. From what I understand, Bird cited being in a hostile working environment, quote unquote, and refused to wait for Northern Gaming Red to find a replacement, instead leaving the team in an awkward position where they lack a 6th and key DPS player. On a game level, this is a big loss for Northern Gaming Red. Bird is a talented hitscan player in a meta where hitscan just became incredibly important. While Wolf is certainly of a high standard, having both would have made Northern Gaming Red pretty damn solid in the coming weeks. Now they're a little bit lost and they're kind of stuck without a 6th player. Here's hoping they find a replacement quickly, and real damn quickly, because moving on to event news, we have another major tournament. And this was announced literally a day before it started. I've said it before and I'll say it again, can organizers not do this? There's a myth that teams and organizations knew about this well in advance, and I will tell you that they did not. Maybe a few of the major organizations did, but I saw several major team names scrambling to get organized and understand the tournament and its rules. Not to mention, it helps to let a little bit of time to pass to allow for people to spread the word and hype to build. Either way, the Overwatch Open is a $300,000 prize pool tournament, and it will be taking place over the next couple of weeks, finishing in late September and televised on TBS. 4 open qualifiers to set the stage, and they dodged the issue that the ESL Atlantic qualifiers are running into. While the number 1 spot automatically gets seeded into a regional qualifier, the 2nd through 12th spots earn points towards getting their spot. This means that aside from 4 teams, regularly playing is highly encouraged, pushing the competition to be that much harder. In the first qualifier, the European Open was utterly rocked by ANOX, or ANOX, I'm still not sure how you pronounce the first A letter in that, I'm just going to say ANOX because it amuses me, have an amazing run through that tournament. My god, they did well. From what I know, ANOX is currently bootcamping in advance of the ESL Atlantic regional qualifier, and the results have been astonishing to say the least. Incredible play, especially coming out of Cypher, a Quake legend, with his team creating space and openings for some absolutely beautiful work on Genji. ANOX secured 2nd place in a fairly close series against Misfits, but in doing so tore through Reunited and Rogue. Misfits, the first team to secure their spot, beating out SG1 and Creation in the brackets. Interesting fact, by the way, Misfits seem to be the only team currently aggressively trying to play Ana, Nevix frequently putting her to use in this tournament. In America, well, Envy secured number 1. I don't think anyone was surprised by that. How they did it is worth a mention, however, bringing out May on the tight streets of King's Road to control any diva shenanigans. Tailspin playing her fantastically, although I've been told repeatedly by Creation eSports' links that, well, he did it first in pro play, and he did, I remember it way back in the beta on King's Road. So, yeah, good for you, Links. Nice. Otherwise, TSM had a solid run through the tournament, beating out Cloud9 in a 2-1 series. Luminosity, a team with fairly shaky results lately, meeting Envious in the semi-finals and falling. Still, 3rd and 4th place finishes for Cloud9, and Luminosity Gaming put them in a good position going forward. This is why it's a pity that Northern Gaming are having issues. However, Northern Gaming Red would have had a solid shot at the 3rd and 4th place spot, and it would have been nice to see. Worth mentioning here as a tidbit of news, but Shaq, yes, Shaq of Shaq Fu fame, as well as some minor basketball career, sent a tweet to Seagull asking him to join his esports organization. I mean, this is a little bit of a faux pas, he's a contracted member of another team, but come on, Shaq. Seagull apparently is also sitting on an announcement lined up regarding Luminosity, at least people think it's about Luminosity, that's gone on hold after the Open was announced. Curious to see what comes of that. The ESL Atlantic soldiers on in the meantime. Week 3, probably the least exciting of the weeks. The big teams have already gone through and it isn't the last chance yet, so it's a little bit hard to build the hype, but there was a few upsets involved. OW Kings, a team that I thought would probably make it through in about week 3, have yet to take their slot going forward. This is a team that's been working hard over the last few weeks to try and be a consistent mid-tier threat in the European scene. In North America, also, FaZe Can again struggled to find results and are so down to the last chance in this final week. The teams advancing, well, are moderately familiar names. In Europe, Too Strong, Bikini Beach Esports, Pretz, a team that comes out of nowhere and seems to do pretty damn well, and the Deathmatch Gang have all made it through, while in North America, One Shot, Selfless, Colorado Clutch, and Sodipop all advanced to the regional qualifier. Once again, we'll round out with the Gosu Weeklies. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see much of them this week. I've managed to sort of flick through some of the VODs, however, and had a good time doing it. ZP and Hex always doing a good job. With the Overwatch Open running at the same time as the weeklies and a $300,000 prize pool, it's no surprise that they were a bit depleted this week. Pretty much every big name instead opted to play in the Open, although one team, due to its slightly unstable roster, decided it seems to play Gosu instead, in both regions. We United. If you aren't aware, We United was formed by Too Easy after his removal from Reunited. And to be honest, it's a really damn good lineup of talent. Shadowburn in particular should flourish as Genji starts to come back into the meta. In Europe, the team managed to make it to the final with a clean 3-0 over Bringos, amusingly named because, well, they were formerly Northern Gaming Blues roster, which was formerly known as Gringos. In North America, they took on Cialgi, again, British pronunciation, avoiding the CLG joke, taking the final in a 3-1 series. They're honestly a really damn good team on paper, like really, really damn good. With a solidified roster, this could be a joke that turns into something really scary down the line. Team of the Week, well, it has to go to ANOX, with a twofer of Cypher also taking Player of the Week. While Misfits took the #1 spot in the Open, they did it mostly just by shifting tactics and shutting down Cypher's Genji. As a Genji player myself, watching how he moves, engages, disengages and lands hits so consistently was a thing of beauty to behold. Really, really well played this week by ANOX. If they maintain that standard of play, Europe's now got 5 top-level teams fighting for spots in tournaments. Next week, the qualifiers for the ESL Atlantic wrap up, the Overwatch Open will roll on, and the Beyond the Summit tournament actually comes back for its second qualifier, and I don't know, someone else will probably announce another big tournament as well. Crazy times! Also, let's round out with some quick predictions. The ESL Atlantic should probably see this week. I would be very surprised if it doesn't. OW Kings and FaZe go on to the regionals. Other teams, impossible to say without seeing the sign-up sheets. Overwatch Open, I think Creation will take first in Europe and Cloud9 first in North America. ANOX have some weaknesses that Misfits exposed, and Cloud9 feel a bit more consistent than TSM. However, it is a hit scan meta now, and that is good for both teams. Beyond the Summit should see LG and Cloud9 advance to the playoff. Toodles.